What if I told you that a raise, a pilgrimage, and a permission slip to finally rest all came from simply experimenting and following along to one full Aries lunation cycle? Hey, Christine here, your cosmic doula around the way, and in this episode I'm taking you through the full arc of this Aries lunation cycle, from the solar eclipse that lit a fire under my worth to the moment I finally said out loud what I needed and realized who needed to be released, to the last quarter moon that closed out the whole story. You're going to hear affirmations that shifted me from proving my worth to knowing it, sharing my own personal testimony how a boundary I set a year ago turned into a $333 cosmic wink. And you will hear why rest stopped being something that I earned and became something that I claimed. But before we get started, go grab your calendar, pull out your photos, your voice notes, your journals, wherever you keep your memory, and I'm going to give you 4 dates. And I want you to follow along with me season by season and find your own lunation cycle inside of mine. So let's get into it and let's get experimenting. Welcome to the Intuitive Wellness Experiment, a sacred space for self-rebellion, intuitive remembrance, and embodied wisdom. This is a podcast for reclaiming your rhythm, trusting your intuition, and living in alignment while embodying cosmic self-sovereignty. I'm your host, Christine, aka the Cosmic Doula, guiding you through soulful conversations with changemakers and solo reflections rooted in intuitive wellness. In this season, we're gathering tools for the revolution, tools anchored in self-sovereignty, spiritual empowerment, and collective liberation. Whether you're tuning in during a personal season of creative fire or a sacred pause, may this space support you in coming home to your own rhythm, your radiance, and the power of your gifts. Take a breath, feel your body, and tune in. Hey. So good to be back on the mic. Hope you all are being well, doing well. If you're not, sending you so much love, uplifting you in spirit. These are wild times, to say the least. Interesting, wild times, and honoring how each and every one of us navigate, as long as it's not harming somebody else. Give yourself grace during this time, because if you're tuned into anything with the cosmic weather, you already know what it is. And so yeah, I'm also giving myself grace and grace for what possibly what the emotional waves, let's be honest. If you're new to this podcast, you're new to me. I am a 3/6 manifesting generator with an emotional authority, and being an emotional authority girly, I be going through it. Be going through all the emotional ups and downs, and I've been really leaning into allowing myself to sit and be present with the emotions that come up and the emotional ups and downs, and not constantly going to the next thing. I'm also a Gemini sun, Virgo moon and rising. So there's always something to fix. There's always something to do. There's always somebody to help. There's always, all over the place. There's always somebody to talk to. But I've been really, and I feel like it's been since Jupiter has been in Leo, really through that transition. Leo rules my 12th house. And so from this time, I've been really being present behind the scenes, being present with spirit, being present with myself, with my family, with really what I want to how I want to be in this world. Not even what I want to create, not even what I want to do, but how I want to be and how I want to show up in this world. And showing up in this world, if we're thinking about astrology, we, think about how do we first show up in this world? Heads first, Aries. And that's my intention of showing up today, is navigating and reflecting on the Aries lunar cycle that started during the solar eclipse in Aries on April 8th. We just wrapped up the last quarter moon in Aries on July 7th. And so this is me a little bit days after that moment, just reflecting on this lunation cycle. So invitation to get out your calendar, get out your phone, get out your voice notes, and I hope that this initiates something within you, that you can reflect on these last 2.5 years and see what cycle is closing up for you. If you want to navigate with me as I share and reflect my intuitive well-being journey through this Aries lunar cycle, feel free to do that. I'll share the dates with you now. We are looking at the, again, solar eclipse in Aries that was initiated during the new moon in Aries on April 8th, 2024. Then we go to the first quarter moon that happened on January 6th, 2025. The full moon happened in Aries on October 6th, 2025. And we are wrapping up on the last quarter moon in Aries on July 7th, 2026. So no matter what time, what year, when you listen to this, you can always go back. Pull up those voice notes, pull up those text messages, pull up those photos, pull up those emails, pull up that Notion dashboard where you might have your journals, and see what was going on through that season, because it was a really faded time. And as we are in July 7th, wrapping up the cycle, talking about the last quarter moon, just wanted to drop a little bit why last quarter moons are such a beautiful time for reflection and seeing, okay, now that this is wrapped up, where can I go from here? Especially in Aries, because Aries is that cardinal, is that initiating energy. And there's so much going on right now in Aries with Saturn, Neptune, Uranus is in Gemini, Saturn and Neptune in Aries, and there's a bunch of other stuff in, is there a bunch of other stuff in Aries? I'm saying that, and I'm like, I know for sure Saturn and Neptune are in Aries right now. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff in Aries. Saturn, Neptune, Pallas, Athena, Vesta, and Eris. So these are all freaking powerful planets. Oh my goodness. I could go on and on and on. And if you know me, if you're a client of mine, you know I love to work with the asteroid goddesses and the asteroids and the minor planets in the zodiac. I feel like they really give some really potent medicine to us. And so knowing that Pallas, my girl Pallas Athena, and my girl Vesta are talking to each other in Aries right now, again, perfect opportunity for us to be that strategic warrior, right? Not only leading through our mind in domination, but through strategy and precision, with Pallas there and Vesta being devoted. And so going back to the Aries new moon, like what were we devoted to? So, okay, now that, for real, what is the last quarter moon? So the last quarter moon is a time for us to go back and reflect on the seeds that we planted 2.5 years ago. This is a moment of balance, harmony, breakthroughs, aligning with our higher values. This is a time to reflect on the cycles that we've learned and what work we did or did not do during this time. It's a good time to let go, to release, to break negative patterns so that you can start a new cycle fresh and renewed. If you're trying to clean up loose ends, finish things up, energy leaks, last quarter moons are your time. So the last quarter moon until we get the new moon, perfect time, perfect cycle to go through this. And this is really a turning point that asks you psychologically to integrate what you've learned in the last 2.5 years. So that's what I'm excited to do with you all now. Because this particular lunation cycle concluded with, because the last quarter moon in Aries happened at the same day that Neptune was stationed retrograde in Aries. So it's making it, it's very influential in our lives right now. And when we think about Aries, and I know for me, Aries is my 8th house, and Capricorn is my 4th house, and we are in Cancer season right now, and also Libra. So I'm naming all of the cardinal placements because whenever we have a last quarter moon, similar to first quarter moon, we know we're dealing with a tension. We're dealing with a square aspect. The moon is 90 degrees away from the sun. So this is where we have these squares, which are tensions, the challenges that are really brought up for our greatest growth and alignment. So you can look into your chart to see where you have these cardinal tensions, where Aries and Capricorn lie, and where Cancer and Libra lies. And I think these cardinal tensions, it was really like, for me, I was really focusing on this tension because, we had the full moon in Capricorn, and a lot was brought up for me then. And so just thinking about this last quarter moon, seeing how these two energies, these two cardinal initiating energies play with each other, and really sitting back and reflecting like, okay, what is this cycle telling me or leading me to where I need to be a leader, initiating me to where I need to be a leader and show up. And we can look at these cardinal tensions in our chart. And these are, they're squares, right? So, and as a square girly, born on a first quarter moon, having a good amount of squares in my chart, like, I really do see them as a gift. They might not, trust me. They're not going to fit like it in the moment, but looking back on my life, I see, and even my moon squaring my sun, I could see how this tension has brought me so much wisdom and awareness and all of that. So with me being a Virgo rising, Capricorn is my 5th house of creative sovereignty, self-expression, and Aries is my 8th house of death, rebirth, psychology, shadows, merging with another, committed partnerships, and also alchemy. I think of Scorpio energy, 8th house energy, as alchemy work and alchemy of the undoing. So alchemy. And so this square, for me, what I felt like during this last quarter moon was a reflection of this ongoing 5th house Capricorn, 8th house Aries theme in my chart, which is about building structures that can carry my work. And also the undoing that makes this capacity even deeper and even more possible. So during the last quarter moon, it was also conjunct Saturn, which I feel like is really potent because this is like it's a release and an accountability point for this 5th house, 8th house square tension. So what I feel like it's really asking for me is, what does my fifth house structure, what I find fun, what I'm teaching, what I'm creating, how does it need to be released or rebuilt based on some of the commitments that I've made in my life, the committed partnerships and all of that. And so, yeah, a lot was going on that revealed this tension of what wasn't working that might need to be released, and also what was working that can also be bricks in my foundation. So, let's take it back all the way 2.5 years ago, keeping in mind this cardinal square, this cardinal tension. Let's take it back 2.5 years to where it all started on a solar eclipse. So April 8th, 2024, we're at 19 degrees Aries, which is also an exalted degree. So that means when Aries is at 19 degrees, we are feeling this Aries energy acting out in its highest and most powerful potential. And boy, did we, because actually during this Aries new moon eclipse, it was actually going over the United States of America, and this was a fated point. So if we fast forward to now, guess what's happening in America? What's going on over America? The World Cup. And so there's so many things going on with America. I'm not even going to go there. But what was initiated back during this solar eclipse in April 2024 was fated. And we're seeing some of this play out now. So this is a powerful moment. We know what the last quarter moon phase is regarding a full potential or a release. And so if I look back at the seeds that I planted in April 2024, it was focused around realizing how much output I do for others and how I don't allow myself to receive. So 2.5 years ago, I was constantly doing, fairly not new in my astrology journey, but just like spreading the gospel, spreading the word about astrology and human design, giving so many free readings, so many like energy exchanges to my people, to my community, and also just like being of service. And this is, during this time, we have the South Node in Virgo. And so this is like my easy place. This is the place where I love to be, is to be of service, to do all the things. But the shadow thing about Virgo, it's like you do all of these things and then you low key resent people because you're not feel like you are being compensated for what you're doing. And this was the tension that was coming up for me. So I was noticing that I was getting in my own way of blocking myself from receiving loving care and support from others and rushing to offer them or to do something for them first. I saw the importance of my own value and my own voice in committed partnerships and collaboration, whether that be my marriage, whether that be the relationship with my daughter, whether that be with my 9-to-5 job, or those that I have collaborated with in, my business. I started realizing how, wow, like really what I'm saying is a real value that is being brought up. And so one of my biggest aha moments during this time, I was doing a lot of Chiron work, and my Chiron is in Gemini, and I was realizing that the communication, like I've always felt like nobody understand me, it's like I'm speaking a different language, nobody really gets what I'm saying. But I was realizing that it's not actually miscommunication. It's actually that others are not maybe connected enough, or that I'm to really, or in the right timeline to hear what I have to say. One of my friends called me like a future teller. I have this ability to see the future, and I don't feel like I do, but I do feel like I have the ability to see somebody's potential and somebody's gifts. And when they are not in that space, and when they're not in that place, they're not on that right timeline, I get these, as my mentor likes to call it, deer in a headlight looks and this confusion, and be like, Okay, girl. Look, but fast forward to the future, they always come back and be like, oh, okay. I see what you were trying to communicate. So that was a big aha moment for me during this time. I also named myself as a spiritual warrior with a clear vision to take action on launching Cosmic Wisdom School. So this was April 2024 before I launched a Cosmic Wisdom School, but the seed was planted in my head and I knew I needed to be brave enough. I needed to be a warrior for my community to launch Cosmic Wisdom School. So that was the seed that I planted in April. And I challenged myself to overcome any fears of unworthiness that came with charging for my gifts and charging for my wisdom. I was called to ask for funds. Again, we're talking about Aries. Aries for me as a Virgo rising falls in my 8th house. So this is other people's resources, other people's income, money, grants, resources, all of that stuff. So I felt like it was a good time for me to be brave enough to ask for. I had a lot of things going on. I had a lot of spiritual pilgrimage trips that I wanted to go on, travel. And my wedding anniversary was coming up, so it would have helped if I had extra funds for Jamaica. And so I challenged myself as a seed to open up my rest registry donation portal. And that was a huge thing for me. So I did that, and that helped me get to the places that I needed to go for my pilgrimages, my spiritual travels, etc. And I made sure that I was giving thanks to the support of my community and outside resources that I knew would flow in from multiple streams of revenue. So, setting those intentions during the new moon and working through those during the lunation cycle until we landed to the first quarter moon in January 2025. So this new moon for me lit a fire of self-worth, of voice worthiness. As I traveled the next 9 months into the first quarter moon phase, I supported myself through nurturing affirmations rooted in the 8th house, themes around shedding and rebirth. And I have a couple of those affirmations. I'll make sure that I link it in the Substack post following this article if you're interested in seeing some of those. But the big theme was overcoming any fear of unworthiness and allowing my wisdom to shine through and being compensated for that. One of the affirmations was, I am spiritual gold, understanding that true abundance is already within me, and I am letting go of any belief that my worth is measured by my intellectual achievements. Woo! That was a big one. That was a big one for me, because I really felt that in order to be compensated my own worth, I needed to show my intellect, and really my presence is gold. And so navigating to the first quarter moon in January, this was during Capricorn seasons, and this was a balance, breakthrough, aligning with higher values, all themes of the first quarter moon. And this is where a point where things come up, challenges come up. This is that square point that, again, Aries and Capricorn, right? During Capricorn season, this cardinal square. So his breakthroughs, it's like challenge me. Okay, you planted those seeds. Like, how are you showing up as a leader? Let's do a check-in. Let's do a post check-in. If you aren't, I'm going to bring some challenges on your way to tell you to step the fuck up. Okay. So during this time, I was able to name my womb clearly around my really seeing that my wound was around my intellectual achievement, and really thinking that I had to have all the information. I would never have all the information in order to charge up for my worth. So seeing that womb and naming it clearly was a big thing for me. Through the tension with the new moon scenes, I actively worked to let go of that belief during this first quarter moon, and realized that my worth was not measured by my output and how much I learned and how many certificates I gained, but it was really about sharing from a place of wisdom. So I shifted into presence, being myself and seeing myself as worthy material and spiritual gold. So I was actively teaching myself that I didn't have all the answers. I didn't have to have all the answers figured out. As much as my Virgo stellium wanted to have all the answers figured out and be curious and ask all the questions, I realized I was trying to actively teach myself that I didn't need to have it all figured out. And sometimes, actually, the quote unquote right intellectual answers could hurt more than feeling and sharing what was coming up for me in the now. My conscious sun gate is in gate 20, which is the gate of the now. So actually speaking from the heart, speaking from the moment, what I'm feeling, emotional authority, what I'm feeling in the now could actually be the quote unquote right thing. This was the moment also in January 6, 2025, where I let my queer freak flag fly boldly, loudly, and pridefully in community. I allowed myself to open up intimately with my friends and also showed up radically for my fellow queer community as well. So this was a real breakthrough moment for me. Fast forward to the full moon, and full moons reveal a culmination of the seeds that you have planted, a calibration of the progression, and the realizations of what need to be released. They're also a celebration, maybe, of what you have from the seeds that you've planted, or how can you celebrate, or what needs to be released in order for you to get to that celebration point. So this particular full moon on October 7th, 2025 was a full moon, was a combination like showing me of how my boundary work around my spiritual activation was working. This was the moment that I took bold action, speaking about my needs and desires in collaborations and all of those that I had committed partnerships with, whether it be through my 9-to-5 job, my marriage, or those that I have partnered with in my business. I was really bold about saying, hey, this is what I need, okay? If we are in this marriage, if we committed to each other, this is what I need. This is what I desire in my collaboration. Noting who was with me in this fight, in this Aries fight for what I needed and what I desired, and noticing who wasn't and who maybe needed to be severed and cut off during this time. I remember asking for a raise around this time in my 9-to-5 job, asking to be like, I needed to be compensated for the work that I'm doing, and doing the market research. I realized that the resource that I'm receiving from my 9-to-5 is not in line with what I need and with what I desired. So I made sure that I communicated that boldly as well. I also, during the new moon, planted seeds of my spiritual activation work, showing up as a spiritual leader. And this full moon was a harvest of that seeding bloom from my Substack post, one of my favorite Substack posts, Revolutionary Reflections. I'll make sure to link that as well. I highly suggest y'all check that out, especially now. It's even more potent with, all that's going on with my fellow Haitians and all of the BS that the U.S. is doing. The full moon was really where I spoke out about it, what was coming up for me, and how I was in my own right naming myself a spiritual revolutionary. And in that post, I was able to see myself as an embodied wisdom keeper and spiritual leader and activist who was actively in the process of crafting a spiritual battle plan for myself and my community, especially as it tapped into the liberation of my people, the Black diaspora, those who are institutionally marginalized, those that are Haitian. Okay, that is where my work and my focus was. And I named that clearly. In that post, I was also tapping into how I was out. Well, not even in that post, but just during this time, I was tapping into how I wanted to outwit my opposition not through aggression, but through clarity, patience, and precision. And I don't know if that's Aries' strongest point. They might want to do things through aggression. But for me, it's really through that clarity, patience, and precision is how I outwit my opponents and how I win the battle. And so through clarity, patience, and precision, this is where cosmic wisdom comes in. This is where cosmic dualship comes in. Through cosmic alignment, I'm able to get organized based on what's happening in the cosmic weather and make moves behind the scenes as I and the collective and sharing these special battle tools as we face one battle after another. And it was during this time that I teased out the second season of my podcast, which was focused on the tools of the revolution, based on conversations that were rooted in radical authenticity and devotional act of self-sovereignty, which are all things that we need or tools that we need when we are in the revolution, which we are currently in now. This was a beautiful series. It's, you can watch it on the Intuitive Wellness Experiment podcast, where all podcasts are found. You can even see it on my Substack as well. But these were all powerful episodes around intuitive well-being, of course. And I had conversations with people on topics and tools that were grounded in cosmic self-knowledge and liberation. And it was almost a year to the date of me recording this podcast that I teased out that second season. So that's a beautiful reflection, culmination during the full moon too. As I shared this revolutionary tools and with others, I knew that this was a plan. This was one of my strategic plans. My revolutionary tools, sharing my revolutionary tools on the podcast in a public forum was my plan. But my plot continues behind the scenes. My personal revolution continues to be lit from within. Professor Baina Bello says, we all need to be plotting and planning. A plan everyone knows, a plot we keep to ourselves. So what are you planning? What are you plotting? One that is rooted in supporting, I know for me, I'm rooted in supporting the oppressions of our marginalized communities. I trust that I'm leading collective change in my own unique sovereign way. From that full moon to where I am now, I see this cycle of spiritual warriorship coming through. And for that, I give thanks. From the season, from the full moon to this last quarter moon, I give thanks for my trip to Italy that allowed me to fall back in love with myself. I give thanks for all the little moments of integration and presence that I was able to gift myself. I give thanks for the spiritual devotion that was ignited by Vesta, sparked by Lilith and Mary Magdalene, that held me so, and I was held so tenderly by the Black Madonna, aka Azili Danto. For all of that, I give thanks. I also give thanks for the opportunities to show up as a sacred space holder for Cosmic Wisdom, through Cosmic Wisdom School, through Moon Church, through spiritual leadership, and being a spiritual strategist for my community. For all of that, I give thanks. And as the current last quarter moon in Aries as we're in this season, in this cardinal square is acting out within me, activating my natal Capricorn Aries tension of structure and surrender. This square, I'm realizing as we're back to this tension post the full moon in Capricorn, is the tension for me building out the structure that I need to carry for my work. And with this last quarter moon being conjunct Saturn, I feel like this is my accountability point for this structure versus surrender. In order to surrender, though, I need to make sure that I feel safe and I feel held. For the past couple of weeks, my nervous system hasn't been safe, hasn't felt held. But the place where I felt safe and I felt home was with my family and with my spirit. So I allowed myself to surrender in that space. Now that I've gained the strength that I needed in the silence and solitude, I'm now allowing myself to receive support from my most valued community partnerships. I have the energy and vitality to get back out there and get back to do the work that Capricorn fifth house is asking me to do. So I'm thankful for this last quarter moon conjunct Saturn for this accountability that I needed through this Aries lunation cycle to see and understand what was needed to be released. And with that awareness, I can be present with what is. And so, I just give thanks again for this lunar cycle and the opportunity to reflect with you all. The cycle started with me not allowing myself to recover and from working. It started with me choosing work structures versus acts of service for others, for my family, and not allowing myself rest and not allowing myself to receive support from others. And during this last quarter moon time, post the 4-week holiday weekend where I came and I allowed myself to do some much needed rest, some much needed solitude with my family, to play and to have fun. We did some camping, we did some hiking, we saw some waterfalls, we saw some sea creatures, we did things that were fun and to us. And so, seeing that full circle moment from the seeds that were planted during the Aries new moon is beautiful. And also I mentioned, financial abundance and receiving from multiple streams of income, financial revenue. And I am happy to say I have a testimony. I am, as I'm closing this out, I'm able to do that. Receiving financial abundance from others because of my presence alone, not because I'm doing all the things, constantly putting content out, but others are seeking me and investing in me. And for that, I give thanks. And for that, I give thanks just for my presence. People are compensating me for my presence, including my investor of my business, my 9-to-5 job. My salary increased by $333 per paycheck. If that's not a cosmic wink from the universe for being, not from doing, I don't know what is. Like, my job has stayed the same. Nothing has changed. They did a reevaluation in our organization and make sure that everybody was being compensated for what they were worth. So it might have taken, a year and a half, 2.5 years from when I initiated that and when I asked for it. But when I did, it came in a big way, in a beautiful 333 cosmic wink from the universe. And for that financial increase, I give thanks. And it's not a coincidence. It's proof that this lunar cycle is completing. And now as we come up on July 14th, where we have the Cancer new moon that will be happening in my 11th house of hopes, wishes, and dreams for humanity, for my community work, as I'm gaining more and more clarity of how to show up as a spiritual leader, spiritual strategist, a spiritual warrior for my community, for my roots, for my Haitian lineage, for my heritage, for this new paradigm. I look forward to planting new seeds during this new moon cycle in Cancer towards, being a leader for my community. So you better believe I will be setting intentions around protecting my rest as I show up for my community as a structured part of my leadership. And knowing that I don't have to, it's not a reward a rest is not a reward that you earn after depleting yourself. It's our birthright. It's our birthright. And so, as the cosmic doula, for real, it's my mission to support you and anybody that enters my Zen wellness space, my Zen wellness aura, reminding you of your unique design and birthright and new vision for yourself. This is how I show up as a spiritual leader, spiritual strategist. Thank you, Sia. Shout out to Sia for helping me with that language, because she was able to see me show up in this way. And so I'm running with that, being a spiritual strategist and empowering those that come into my community to step into alignment in your cosmic blueprint, to reclaim your power, to trust your divine timing. It's really my vision to envision all of those that come into my space, so that you can fully envision your divine essence, your spiritual sovereignty and personal power, so that you can move through life with purpose, clarity, trusting in your divine unfolding. So I also look to you as spiritual leaders to lead me, to guide me as I support you as revolutionary leaders. Each of us in our own way is leading this current area of transformation, this current era of transformation. So I'm going to leave you with some questions. What revolution are you leading? Is it loud? Is it quiet? Is it happening behind the scenes? Is it happening on the front lines? Is it happening in your altar? Is it happening in the streets? The choice, the voice, and the power you enact and the change you enact is yours. So be the leader. We all need these sovereign, spiritually rooted leaders as we enter this. We all feel it. We all feel this collective shift, whether it's the new paradigms, the yugas, all these different things. You can hear all these different things that point to we are entering a new world. So how are you showing up as a leader for this new world? If you want support in that, guidance in that, feel free to reach out to me. A strategy in that, Palace and Vesta are my girls, and I'd be more than happy to support you in that through cosmic awareness, through strategy. Let's do it. Let's win the war through presence and precision. Because in aggression, I ain't knocking aggression, okay? But I feel like, the tools of the revolution, we got them. Listen to the podcast, tap into me, tap into your community, and I'm excited to see where you lead, where you go from here. So with that, I will say goodbye, and I will catch y'all in the next one. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Intuitive Wellness Experiment. May you continue to trust your rhythms, honor your intuition, and gather tools that liberate you. If you're feeling this journey, share it with someone you love or subscribe on Substack to stay connected. That's it for this episode. Keep listening to your body, keep trusting your path, and remember, your intuition is the revolution. Your wellness is sacred. Merci beaucoup and merci en pile. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Until next time.